Do you get the relationship between the ego and the stuff it claims to own? What must be the right relationship? All right. The right relationship is this. The stuff that ego claims to own is transient and in movement always. The ego has to benefit from that movement by watching the movement and learning. That is the right relationship between ego and stuff. Stuff is always moving. When I say stuff, I mean the world. Stuff is world. The world is a flux, constantly in motion. Things are happening. Now, with all these things, what must be your right relationship? The right relationship is, these things are there. There's just so much happening. I don't need to interfere. I don't need to associate. I need to understand what's going on. And in this understanding lies the liberation of the ego. This is wisdom. Do you get what is wisdom? The verse deals with foolishness. It is an opportunity to reflect on wisdom as well. What is foolishness? Now here am I, in the middle of this world, rather my world. Here am I. Who am I? The ego. Who am I? The ego. All around is my world, including this body. My body, the world includes this body, thoughts, past, future, memories, everything. All that can be thought of, talked of is the world. World around the, which center? This is the center, the false center, right? And this is the false center, and then the world is swirling around it. What must be the right relationship between this center and the world that's going round and round? Watch and learn. Watch and learn. Don't start running with the world. Watch. Watch. Prakriti is in motion. Entanglement will give you nothing. Why will it give you nothing? Because if you get entangled, associated with a moving entity, you too start moving. And movement is not what you want. You have been moving for very long now. What is it that you want? Rest. You want peace. Whereas if you get associated with Prakriti, you start moving. What else will happen? A person is moving and you hold his hands. You find that you too are. How will that bring you to rest? Therefore, the ego must be a watcher. It has to see what is going on. It must not be in a hurry to become a part of what is going on. Why must it not be in a hurry? Because in some sense, the ego is already a part of what is going on. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been the ego. It would already have been liberated. So the ego is already in a problem. If it becomes a part of what is going on, it only compounds its problem. The solution lies not in associating with the dynamic universe. The problem lies in understanding the dynamics of the universe. This understanding itself is freedom. And in this understanding is wisdom. Are you getting it? Now, why does the ego get associated with what is going on? Because it feels that in movement lies some kind of pleasure. In movement lies some kind of pleasure. It wants to enjoy that pleasure. We keep on saying the ego is the doer, the ego is the doer. Actually, doership comes later. The ego is not a doer for nothing. The ego is first of all a consumer. In order to consume, it does. It is not as if it keeps doing something randomly. It wants to be a bhokta, therefore it becomes the karta. But we talk of the karta-bhokta pair in a way that misleads us into thinking that it is doership that comes first. No, it is not doership that comes first. It is the desire to consume that comes first. Bhokta bhav comes first. Karta bhav is a result of bhokta bhav. Are you getting it? Why are you running so hard? Because you want to enjoy the sweets that are there in that shop. So you are running so hard to that shop. It is the desire to consume that is energizing you. Are you getting it? So that is what the ego feels, and hence it becomes the doer. Herein lies the central ignorance. The ego is thinking, if I run hard, I will get some wonderful pleasure. Running hard means becoming a part of the change, becoming a part of the universe. Finding this, reaching here, achieving that, all that is a part of the process of running. The ego thinks, if I do this, if I do that, some great thing will happen to me. This is the fundamental ignorance. Great things happen not when you join the blind movement of Prakriti or the world. Greatness comes to you when you understand the source of all movement. Are you getting it? So are we advocating non-movement? No. We are just exposing blind movement. Unfortunately, all movement of the ego is just blind. So can there be enlightened movement as well? Is it possible to realize and understand and yet move? Well, yes, it is possible. But then the movement will not be driven by the desire to consume. And hence it cannot be called doership. Are you getting it? Doership is doership only when it is driven by the desire to consume. If you are moving without any concern for results, then this cannot be called doership. If your movement is not being impelled by hunger or self-interest, then it is just pure movement. What is it? Just movement. Purposeless, pure. Are you getting it? The ego's movement takes it to places that have nothing for it. And therefore the ego is a fool. The ego moves really hard only to reach a place that offers just a little more suffering to it. That's why it is an idiot. It does not even enjoy the luxury of rest or relaxation. The fellow keeps working so hard all his life, only to meet despair after disappointment. Is that not foolishness? At some places, the sages say that far better than the hardened doer is the drunken and lazy person. At least he is not killing himself with self-destructive labor. Yes, he is doing nothing to redeem himself. At the same time, he is not actively inflicting suffering upon himself. In that sense, he probably is a little better than the compulsive actor. Are you getting it?
Acharya, as you said that the right relationship is of watching and then learning, then is spirituality advising us to just understand and then action will happen on its own?
Yes.
Because most of the time seekers are very much frightened that situations demand action, then how to act?
That's a good question to ask. How to act? How can you act if you do not even know the situation? First of all, you have to watch and learn. Obviously, watching and learning cannot become excuses for sitting idle. At the same time, it is not only foolish but actively dangerous to act without understanding. Understanding releases great inner reservoirs of energy. Why am I calling them great? Because in understanding you have energy guided by wisdom. Energy, when not guided by wisdom, is your own worst enemy, or is it not? You are running hard, very hard. And you go and hit a wall. Who exactly broke your skull? Who exactly broke your skull? Your own energy. Whose energy? Your own energy. You are overspeeding and your car bangs into a tree. You are killed. In fact, your body is found all mangled. Who did this to you? Somebody surely applied a lot of energy on you. Whose energy was it? The tree's energy? Whose energy was it? Your own energy. So nothing destroys you more terribly than your own blind energy. Understanding does not preclude movement or action. Understanding enables well-directed and wise action. Are you getting it?
Acharyaji, you mentioned that ego keeps owning things as its own. If it if it is absolutely has no ownership of its own, then how does understanding of ego lead to a change in action? You mentioned that ego keeps owning things as its own. If
Falsely.
falsely. If it is absolute if it absolutely has no ownership of the action,
Absolutely, yes.
then how does understanding of ego lead to a change in action?
Because previously, when you are assuming a false sense of ownership, you are turning yourself responsible for something that is not at all in your realm, in your control. Whereas when you know your real nature, then you let things be. You know fully well that neither are you responsible for those things, nor can you be a beneficiary out of those things. Those things, that is stuff, that is the world, they just are. Good, bad, right, wrong, attractive, ugly, those things just are. Are you getting it? You cannot get anything from them. In fact, you are suffering because you already have something or a lot of things from them. It is a pre-existing association with stuff that is already troubling you so much. How can more association with stuff relieve your suffering? Are you getting it? Get the fundamental misconception clear. There is nothing here that can be ultimately be of use to you. Okay, put it more accurately. There is nothing here that can be the ultimate to you. At most, the things here can be of use in reaching the ultimate. But none of these things by themselves are the ultimate. Therefore, do not hinge your hopes so much on these things. They are to be at best simply used. Owning them will give you nothing. It's like the flowing waters of a stream. If you want to cross the stream, the flowing waters can be used. If your intention is to cross the stream and you start owning those waters, then not only will you not succeed in owning, you will actually find yourself drowning. Think of a man who needs to cross the river, but he finds the pure water quite alluring. Sparkling water, mountainous, rich in minerals, pure, serene, cool. So he is carrying 2 huge containers, 20 liters each, on his back. And even as he must cross the stream, What is he doing? He is filling up those containers with the water of the stream in order to own them. He says, now they are mine. And now he has 40 liters, which is 40 kilograms on his back. He is owning it. You're not supposed to own these things. You are supposed to use these things for just one purpose, crossover. Now this man will sink. Now this man will sink. The water will meet water. The man gets really nothing. What happens to all the water that he has possessed? Water meets water. That's what happens to all your possessions when you drown. What does drowning stand for? Death. Water meets water. But your life is gone. You could have used the life to cross over. Instead, you forgot about swimming and you started collecting water. Can you visualize this man? And it's the swift, mountainous river. And our hero is dipping huge containers. He says, you see, I am the doer. I am the owner. I am the actor. And this wealth is mine. That's what you must realize. The world is a stream. You can own nothing here. You can at best use the world in a great way. Greatness, therefore, does not depend on the quantum of your accumulations. Greatness is about the swiftness and wisdom you display in crossing through. You're not great if you have collected a lot of water. Water is water. A lot of water on your back will not render you great. At the same time, you cannot say that you will not have any relationship with water. You must have a relationship with water. Every human being, that is, must have a relationship with the world. But the right relationship. Right relationship is not of accumulation. Right relationship is of utility. The world is to be utilized. Nobody can own the world. It cannot be possessed. No point hankering after these things. The man's body was found with the two containers. Still on his back. Very firmly he had tied them to his back. And when the body was pulled out, what happened to the water? What an insult. What an insult. The water that you died for showed no loyalty to you at all. Went away with the stream. And here you are, having lost the one precious opportunity you had to cross over. The ego is like, 100-meter sprinter who, in the middle of the sprint, starts inquiring from this and that. Sir, what is the per square feet rate of this land? I need to own it. Imagine Usain Bolt. 50 meters down the chute. And he's asking, per square feet, how much does it cost? You are not to own it, sir. You are to quickly just leave it behind. Be swift, be fast, leave it behind. No point owning it. That's what champions do. They are the fastest in leaving it behind. Leave it behind. Getting it? Now you know why the ego is an idiot.
So Acharya, usually you say that we must keep on observing ourselves. The more subtler we can go, the better. But at the same time, we also say that we must be somehow encouraged, or we must be somehow consumed in a very big thing. So how can this happen? Like if we are consumed in some big tasks, so that we'll be able to watch all these subtler things. Like how is it possible that these two things happen together? Like absolutely.
If you are consumed in some really big thing, then that disappointment won't arise at all. So there is nothing to observe. The idea is, if something is arising, then do not fail to observe it. The best thing is, if nothing arises at all, then obviously there is nothing to observe at all. But if something does arise, do not fail to observe it. If you are absorbed in something big, then obviously you will have no feeling, no space for such petty emotions. Are you getting it? The beggar came and you could find something to give to him, you gave it to him, and you have no space to worry about petty stuff as feeding upon somebody's gratitude or things like these. You have something far bigger to do. So no reaction arises in you whether the beggar now praises you or abuses you. You have already done what you needed to do. You are through. What did you need to do? You needed to give him that note. You have given him that note. Now the matter is closed for you. You are absorbed in your great internal universe. The beggar is wholeheartedly praising you. Does it matter to you? The beggar has very indifferently walked away. Does it matter to you? The beggar has taken the note and is found spitting at you. Anything is possible. Does it matter to you? Since nothing arises within you, hence what is there to observe? But if something does arise and you fail to detect it, then there is danger.
And it has to be at the very same time when it's happening.
Obviously, that's called inner sensitivity or honesty. If something has happened within, do not pretend that it hasn't happened. You just experienced a stab of disappointment. Disappointment has just stabbed you here. Why are you pretending nothing has happened? A colleague has just passed you by and he has been freshly promoted. And again you experience that stab of jealousy. Do not pretend that you aren't jealous. Do not cover up your jealousy with a fake smile. a seductive man or woman has just walked past you, and you find that your inner world has been disturbed. There are a lot of ripples, vibrations. Do not pretend as if nothing has happened. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Yes, something did happen. I am vulnerable. I have to then find out what is it that I am going for. If the presence of this person has caused such inner chaos in me so easily, then surely there is something amiss within. Surely it is an important part of my desire to have such a person in my life. Otherwise, how could the mere presence of a person, that too a mere fleeting presence, disturb me so much, so easily? These things are to be acknowledged.
But at the same time, the logic comes that in case you get somehow engrossed in, even this acknowledging and then moving on, then probably the work end had.
It's a very subtle thing. It's a very, very subtle thing. Acknowledgement is not about standing there and indulging in an elaborate ceremony of acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is instantaneous. Yes, it did happen. Honestly, I admit, yes. It's almost like losing a point in a game of tennis or squash. When you lose a point, do you create a big ceremony around it? No. Yes, you say yes, of course. I lost a point. And what do you do then? You get ready to receive the serve.
There is no engrossing into that.
It has happened. Now I cannot act blind to it. The inner scoreboard must correctly reflect what has happened. You lost a point. What does the outer scoreboard reflect? The right situation. You have lost a point, it reflects it, but you do not wait to ponder on the point, or to talk about the point. The game goes on. Similarly, there must be an inner scoreboard. It must accurately register what has inwardly happened. And you must not stop there. Just as they say, the show must go on. Similarly, the game must roll on. If you lose a point and pretend that you haven't, isn't it dishonest? Similarly, if you don't gain a point and yet add 2 points to the scoreboard, that's what we do. To avoid the trouble, most people don't even keep a score. Because they know that if they keep a score, it would be mostly love 11, love 11, love 11. So they won't even keep a score. And that is called inner insensitivity. I will not acknowledge what is happening within. Because if I acknowledge, the score is love 11, love 11, love 11. It's too painful. I don't want to bear that pain. So in order to avoid that pain, what do I become? Insensitive. Like a body part becoming numb because it wants to avoid pain. Numbness is one of the devices of the body to avoid experiencing pain. Similarly, we inwardly turn numb when the scoreboard turns hostile. Keep the right score. Even if you know that you are losing badly, still know what the right score is. It will hurt. But at least someday, somewhere down the line, you will have a chance to improve. If you keep ignoring the score, will you ever improve? Even if you have lost badly, you must know that you have lost badly. Don't pretend as if you are still a winner. This game has been lost. The next game has been not. Let this loss not translate into a perpetual series of losses. Avoiding the fact of this moment will lead to a series of bitter facts for you. It requires the greatest kind of courage and honesty, to be inwardly authentic. A part of that also involves being outwardly authentic. By displaying a false face, you might be able to secure a good or favorable image in the eyes of the other. It requires a lot of courage to confess facts to the other, even if it means a loss of face. That's the reason we keep lying to each other, because we want to save face. Your face is not more important than your fate. Or is it? Loss of face is not such a terrible thing. In fact, what you call as loss of face is just an exposure of the false face. Only the false face has been exposed, has it not? It is anyway not your true face. So why are you so ashamed if something false within you has been exposed? It's not your reality anyway. Stand firm.